Welcome back to Recoup. Today's Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. I'm Sweets. This is Sid. This is our Wednesday weekly check-in where we talk about what we've been working on and what we want to get done before Friday. Kicking it off on my side, I've been working on first time sandbox. We have it working if your sandbox is already set up. When we tested with Alexis on Monday, we had to give her a very specific prompt so that the right tool calls happen. It should be working now. There's still some edge stuff to clean up. Sid, if you want to test it, we can test it. At some point, I think you should delete your sandbox and be testing a lot the first sandbox setup to make sure that all the other enterprise customers that we want to onboard to sandbox have a good experience. But that's what I've been working through. Today, I made it so that the prompt sandbox tool, which is what we tend towards, when it tries to create a sandbox, it checks if a snapshot was used in that sandbox. If a snapshot was not used because it's their first sandbox, we return the same data as we return from the run sandbox command, and it triggers that same task. So if there's no sandbox, it runs it as the background and then does the whole sandbox setup. If there is already a sandbox, it's supposed to run it. The biggest thing I've seen right now is it did it. I said, what releases do I have? It then triggered the prompt sandbox tool. Prompt sandbox usually does not have this whole UI, but now it does have the task UI. It looked it up for the specific artist that I had active, and it said that we didn't have any releases in that artist, which is correct. So it kind of assumed an artist context when I didn't want it to assume an artist context.
But that's good. That's a feature, not a bug, because you could have turned off by clicking the artist, it turns off now.
You're right.
We need to make that a better, easier way to know that. But yeah, so that's good that it was able to hone in because we passed it the artist as well.
And then the initial response was, here are the releases I can find in your account. It found these from my system prompt, my knowledge bases that are here on the chat UI. It didn't know that this was running in the background. So I need to update the MCP so that it tells it one of the options for this tool is that it could send back a run and to tell it not to poll. That way you don't ever hit the polling thing. And then I told it to check the status, and it checked the status, and I can see up here that it got the same info. But then down here, it repeated the same. It told me that it was completed and how much we were charged. And it says that it ran, but the final output didn't give me the same info. It's talking about this Nounish project, which is unrelated to the output that it said. So there's still a couple edge cases I need to clean up, and I haven't tested if I say, and if I do it again, I would expect now to have the streaming. What releases do I have? Because now my sandbox is set up. So now it should not do the task in the background. It should run it up here in front. While it's doing that.
Did you ever change the system prompt?
I changed, so that it prioritizes this sandbox tool.
Yeah. Where was that PR? I didn't see it because I wanted to read the new system prompt. I guess I can go read it now, but.
Yeah, it's in the, I don't remember, what day did I do that? It was whenever I told you that it was all working. Inbound, prioritize, reduce usage of knowledge-based tool.
Okay, so that system prompt update
is right here.
Got it.
It should be right here. No, not this one. System prompt, this is probably it. Yeah, this one looks like it's it. It's in the const. Here's the system prompt. And we talk about sandbox first approach. You have a persistent sandbox via the prompt sandbox tool. This is your primary tool. Use it for anything related to files, code, data analysis, or content generation, creating or editing documents, reports, spreadsheets, or marketing material, building release plans, campaign briefs, strategy decks, general visualizations, any multi-step or complex task that benefit from a working environment. Default to the prompt sandbox tool unless a different tool is clearly better suited. Other tools are best for quick single-purpose lookups or updates, like fetching Spotify data, searching the web, editing an image. When in doubt, use the sandbox. and then we copy some of the stuff that was already there. So some of it was deleted. You can see that we have less in here in the system prompt than we had before, but it all prioritizes the prompt sandbox tool.
Cool.
Okay, so now it is using, so the first time it showed that task UI of it running in the background, now it is waiting to give the response because now we have set up a sandbox, so it is going to use this tool from now on. The other things that I did were, so this is where I'm at. I'm trying to make it so that the first sandbox works. And so how I'm doing that is I'm just going into my sandboxes, I'm deleting it, and then I'm just trying like a new customer, talking to it and just seeing how that works, and then transitioning into a returning customer who's already spun up their sandbox. How does it work? And trying to make that experience as good as possible. The other thing that I did based off of feedback from Alexis, Sid said he wanted the ability to get to the pulse from the nav bar. I didn't want to add another thing into the nav bar, and I was thinking pulse is really a subset of tasks. A heartbeat is like it is a task, and it's just one that executes daily. And so pulse is now inside of here. Inside of tasks, I've deleted the /pulse route. You can only get to it from the tasks page. I deleted all the hard-coded content because Alexis had mentioned, look at this LLM. It got my name wrong because it said Alex, hard-coded, ALEKS, and then it had these articles. I just deleted all that because we weren't making updates to it. We weren't talking about it. We weren't prioritizing it, so I deleted it. And if we ever decide we want to put that stuff in, we can, but for now, I just deleted it. So now you got these 3 tabs. Instead of putting the recents underneath the schedules, I just made a new tab for recents. And so now on tasks, you have schedules, which are things for the future, recents, which are things that have just completed, and then pulses, which is right now just a toggle. The issue that Alexis ran into where she was trying to turn it on and it kept saying it was turned on, but then it wasn't, was a result of her being in an org. So before, if an org was active, it took a long time to load because it was trying to load everybody's pulse. And then when you toggled it, it stayed off because for the organization it was off, but for the personal it was on. Now that's been fixed. You can see it loads instantly. When I flip it off, it goes off. When I flip it on, it turns on, even if I have a organization active. That is most of what I've been working on. Oh yeah, the only other thing I've been working on is getting an internal, making the chat SDK so that way we can send prompts on Slack and have that spin up a coding agent that does work inside of Recoup. I'm working on the tasks right now to make that happen. And once the tasks are done, setting it up inside of our Slack and as well as inside of GitHub so that I can do all. I want to be able to be sleeping on Sundays, even when I don't open up Slack and when I don't open up Claude Code. And so me being able to do it from Telegram or from Slack is going to allow me to, I'm trying to get to my exponential point. Right now, I'm still at between 10 to 50 pull requests per week. And my goal is to unlock to get up to 100 to 500 pull requests per week. And
that's
I think
my guy. Let's fucking go.
This is the thing that we need to be able to do that.
Will that also enable, like, if you comment on PRs in Slack, we'll be able to go and do it without me mediating between you and the LLM?
Yeah, it should. I'm setting it up so that it'll be able to read it from both. Inside of the Slack thread, you can reply, and then it'll update the pull request based off of the comments. So just like you said, if Sid puts a pull request in code review and I leave a feedback, the agent will then go and make that update so that neither you nor I need to go and prompt Claude. Just the Slack thread triggers that. As well as if I go directly into GitHub and I leave a comment in GitHub, it should be listening for those on GitHub directly as well. So I shouldn't even need to communicate it from GitHub to the Slack thread. I should just leave them in the GitHub thread, and then the agent will automatically update them. And then it will reply in the Slack thread to say, I updated it. I
like this too, because this is, once you knock this out, I think Slack is the next client for Google anyways. Yeah, because they're starting to do work in there, and I'm seeing it happen, and like all of those things could have been triggered. Yeah. Like, and having them there, me showing them like, look, you can just tag this thing and it goes and does the thing will be awesome. Yeah, cool.
That's it for me. On your side, what you
got? On my side,
Flamingo,
which I updated the docs a little bit more yesterday. because we were missing bearer token auth in our doc for that specific one, and the API had it, and so that was going to be the whole thing. So I wanted to knock that out. So like I opened a new PR, but it's in the same thread in Slack of where you left off when you said I'm going to go to Salsa. So do that PR first, and then we'll do API and CLI. I didn't even do Recoup chat, so I was kind of proud of myself for that, because this is the first one where it's like, all right, let's not even worry about the chat, and let's see what happens. The other thing I'm doing is trying to figure out, like, so right now the big blocker for a lot of requests from customers of content is this content pipeline. Trying to get the content pipeline going. The content pipeline thing right now is blocked by like the endpoint, the render endpoint. You had mentioned, why isn't this a Slack, or why isn't this a skill? And the part of me a part of me agrees with you. The other part of me doesn't agree with you. The agreeing part is because I understand that technically if we set up the system correctly, then remotion should be able to be installed. The part of me that's iffy about that is like, if the customer doesn't set up remotion correctly on their sandbox, or if they're not using a sandbox but they're using something else, then they're trying to use our CLI. I don't know, just if they don't have remotion and they're trying to use our content pipeline or a content creation endpoint, and it doesn't have a render feature in the actual workflow, then the workflow will break. And so there's like a little bit of more room for error because we're not owning the entire prompt to content out within the API call. So I want to talk to you through that, of like risk versus reward of making that a skill and then having to like install remotion in every sandbox that we create, and make sure everybody else creates sandboxes with remotion installed, or pass at that point in the prompt, or at that point in the pipeline that it needs rendering, tell whatever LLM to install remotion. But if like I'm trying to think of all the edge cases that if they're not able to install remotion, like the whole thing will fail. You're muted.
The main question is why wouldn't it be a skill? Why do we need to move it somewhere else? Or I guess, how are we deciding what is a skill and what's not? The main point that's in my mind is the output file. If it's a skill, the output file lives inside of the sandbox, and all of the memory from your OpenClaw agent is aware of everything that happened and all the pieces that went in, and it's able to make tweaks and do things based off of your specific context, the identity that you've given it, the memories that it has. It makes it more flexible and customized to you. And you get the output file that's in your sandbox. So then OpenClaw has the context around that file and can manipulate and do things with that output file. When you put it away into a background task, you're hard coding it more. You are controlling the output more. But then the sandbox loses the context of it. So I'm
that's
open
so
to it.
interesting. That's so fucking interesting you say that too, because a lot of, man, it's like, this is like the like opinion versus modularity question of the future, is like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just I was talking out loud. Go ahead.
I'm open to being flexible about it. Right now, I'm trying to do as much in the sandbox as possible. That way there's more people testing it, and we can continue to, because it feels good to me. It feels like it's working really well once you get your sandbox set up. But I don't want to be too hard coded on it, like too closed-minded about it. If you think you're the one building it, if you don't want it in the sandbox, build it how you want to. I've expressed the feedback. If after hearing my feedback, you still want to keep going, you're the one that's got skin in the game here, and I'll yield to you and how you want to build it.
Yeah, because we can always refactor it to a skill.
We can always refactor it to a skill later. Action produces information. Better to ship it how you think. I good to have a backbone and do feedback, but I don't want to slow down where we're going. So build it how you want. We'll get it shipped, and then if over time we decide to refactor it, we can refactor it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Because ideally, I'm thinking like I agree with what you're saying. A lot of the creation of the content creation pipeline was me iterating on it, getting a result, and then telling my LLM, no, change it this way, or I want to do this or this, switch my model or whatever. Like, which I guess you could technically do with the pipeline, but like, how much of that do we want the user to? Will our customer base know how to interact enough to get what they want out of the content pipeline if it's not a very opinionated pipeline? And if they could make suggestions, could their pipeline break? And then this also goes to the point of like, should that skill live? If what I'm realizing, and this is, I know we're at time, so like I'll also just say like something else that I'm realizing that we need to think through is like this concept of like AI produces slop if it's not thought through or not reviewed. And in the engineering world, PRs and code review help mitigate that. And there's also things like Code Rabbit and things like that to like auto set up where it's like, wait, this is sloppy, like get rid of it automatically. We don't have that in like a knowledge base world, but I think we might want to think about installing a Code Rabbit in our customers' sandboxes or our customers' repos, so that there are some rules set in place when like, for example, I was testing the sandbox and I already set up Gatsby's release schedule. It already had all that information. I then went into like a long threaded email where in one of the emails, like a couple times before, a month or two before, it said that it wasn't like there was no release schedule planned. And when I like tagged and said, when I used that thread to add like an image, it also read the entire thing and assumed, oh, the release is now not available, and changed my release day to say like, we don't know the release day yet, even though we already had it. So like the context of like old things being looped in and it not knowing what is truth and what is not, I can see becoming a very large problem over time. And I don't exactly know how to fix it. What's the easiest way to fix it, or at least start fixing it? But yeah, I wanted to flag that as like, it was easy for me to see, oh, that's what happened. But as customers start using it and more people start using it, it's gonna, it'll seem like, wait, I already put in my release schedule. Why does it say there's no releases this week? And it's just because it just overwrote. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on the best path forward for that, or if that's like another sprint on another week.
So it's a puzzler. It's a good one. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's a good thing to start thinking about.
It is if I had to guess, it is going to be the biggest challenge from a perspective of building for small businesses and enterprise versus user, like consumer, because it's really easy to build off of a consumer. But like when other people that are non-technical start updating shared repos and they don't know how to check, that's going to be a fun puzzle. And there's not like a dedicated person in the org to do review and context management. That's fun. But all right, I know we're over time, so I'm going to continue working on render, content pipeline, Flamingo. And then I'm going to try to set up Flamingo so that it eventually, when I get it, once you approve it, Flamingo is also used in the catalog creation run, because right now it's not being used. So like we're doing manual scraping to try to get as much information about the song as possible. If we add Flamingo, or if we add analyze music in there, we'll get even more information when we do the catalog analysis.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you all
And
for
then
coming
also, yeah, all right. Wait, are you there? I can't see you.